Then we continue with our study on basic Buddhism. On the board here you see a summary of the basic practice of Buddhism. In other words, if we are Buddhist, what do we do? Right? So, in fact, if you look at the overall idea of Buddhism, it's very simple. If we say in one simple sentence, the purpose of Buddhism is to free ourselves, to liberate ourselves from suffering. That's the simplest idea. Then after you go into detail, how do we do that? We do that by what is called the 3 trainings. Three trainings or 3 kinds of training. This training has to do with our body and mind. In other words, we can take a step back and ask ourselves another simple question. What are we? What am I? We know that we have a body. We can't deny that. And then the fact that we know we have a body, that's the mind. Right? So body, mind. These are 2 things we can't really argue about because they are real, they're there. Right? So this part here deals with the body. Right? Body also includes speech. And this part, second level, deals with the mind. Okay? So let's just look a bit more on this first two trainings. We start at the bottom here. 1, 2, 3. So this pyramid is very apt, very suitable to present the idea of Buddhist training. Because here is the foundation. Foundation means, first of all, we've got to, in a sense, to purify the body and speech first. Because this is the most common thing that we use. So the first part of Buddhist teaching is to calm down or is to discipline body and speech. Okay. So this is the first part. When the body and speech are peaceful, then the mind also is peaceful. So this is the second training. It's called mental concentration. Samadhi means mental concentration. Sila means moral virtue. Sila also means the precepts. I will come to that in a while. So Sila also means something like habit, something we regularly do. So here we should make sure that at least our daily life, our life moment to moment is peaceful. Because if we are habitually negative, then we attract a lot of other negative habits, and that's going to affect our lives now and the life to come. So we learn to calm down our body and speech first. This is the first part of the training. And when this body and speech are calm, then the mind also becomes calm. When body and mind are calm, then wisdom will arise. It's like we get a big jar of water, say this glass jar, glass container. It's got some dirty water in the river, or maybe the water is not clear. So we just leave it on something very stable, on the floor or something. And leave it all by itself. And slowly all the dirt will settle. Okay? That in fact is a very good analogy for meditation. When we meditate, we sit quietly. And we sit very quietly. We don't talk, we don't worry about what we hear, we don't care about what we smell. We close our eyes because we want to focus on the mind. That's why it's called mental concentration. We focus on the mind. And then it's just like this jar. All the dirt will settle. The mind becomes very clear. When the body is peaceful, the mind becomes very clear. Both of these combined, wisdom arises. We can see through the water very clear, very clean. Okay? Buddha often compares wisdom to a mountain lake. It says in the mountains, up in the mountain, there's this very beautiful lake. And this lake, the water is very clear. And when you look into the water, you can see all kinds of fish and other animals, water plants, even treasures. So when our mind is very peaceful, we can understand ourselves better. So in simple terms, is the Buddhist three trainings: training in moral virtue, training in mental concentration, training in wisdom. So all these are called training because we have to build them up. So Buddhism is not a fault-finding religion. It doesn't begin by telling you are evil or so on. It's just saying that you can train yourself to free yourself from suffering. So these are the three trainings. Alright, these are Pali words: Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Okay? So this is the translation. So any question on this one? Is there any? Alright, so today we're going to look a bit of detail on this. In the next week we finish off with this. Yeah? So moral virtue here, if you expand it in terms of discipline of body and speech, we have what are called the 5 precepts. These are basic rules for any person who really wants to become a Buddhist. We practice the 5 precepts. Again, precept here is the word is sila also. And the word, we use the word pancha in front. Pancha means 5. I just put a comma to show separate words. Panchasila, or the 5 precepts of moral virtue. So, if you come for meditation, if you come for our Wednesday study or Tuesday class, we chant. In the Sunday service also, we chant the 5 precepts in Pali. So this is in English. Remember the precepts say, I take upon myself the training to avoid killing. Okay? So that's how we translate it to English. In Pali is Pana, Tripata, Viramani, Sikapana, Samaniyana. So in English, I take upon myself the training. So this is very important to remember. We train ourselves, right? We're not perfect yet. So sometimes we break the precepts. So when we break the precept, then we examine why did we do it? Why did we kill animals, creatures in the kitchen, for example? Oh, because it was dirty. So these animals come, they look for food. So in other words, we learn some things about ourselves through the precepts. Okay? So in other words, we tell ourselves, okay, now if I keep my kitchen cleaner, then this vermin are unlikely to come. They'll come less often. So I don't really have to kill them. In other words, when the conditions are there, they will come because the conditions attract them. So we learn more about ourselves basically. So it's not that we are evil because we kill those things. The precept is telling us it's the way we work, the way we think. Right? So we can become better and better. So there comes a time where, for example, you move to a new house, you are very nice and clean, and you love it. Why do you love it? Because insects won't come, all those vermin won't come, and you have this good chance of keeping it clean. So killing is not, this precept against killing is about loving life. Loving life. In fact, if we look at these 5 precepts, the first precept is about killing, second precept was stealing, third precept is against sexual misconduct, fourth precept against lying, and fifth precept against taking intoxicants, all kinds of drinks. Now, we can ask ourselves some basic questions. For example, why are there 5 of them? Why not 10, 50, 100? Next question we can ask is, why are they arranged in this way? Why all these particular precepts arranged in this way? And there are very clear answers for this. So this is where we can begin by asking ourselves a very simple, basic question in life. What is the most important thing? If I were to ask what's the most important thing we have, or we are right now, what's the most important and valuable thing? What do you think? Our life, right? Because without life, there's nothing else. So, now you see why the first precept is there. So it's very logical. The most wonderful thing we have is life. We treasure life. Animals also treasure life. The Buddha said, no animal will come to you and say, kill me. The animal will always run away. Right? So everyone treasures life. So the Buddha said, when you see this way, you try to love life Other beings also love life, so that means we should not kill. So the logic is very simple, because all beings love their life, and they don't like to die, they fear death. So that's the first precept. So here again, when we talk about precepts, we're talking about letting other beings live. So, in other words, coming back to this diagram, we're talking about other people also. So on this level, Buddhism is teaching us that there are also other beings, not just other people, but also other beings, animals and so on, and also nature. So we have the three important things, if you like, the three things. You have nature, you have self, and you have other. So we have to recognize this, because we don't live alone. So the precepts means, the precepts remind us that we are not alone. We live in a society, a family, okay? And we want that family or society to be a very good, happy one. So in order to do that, the first thing we must do is respect life. So that's what the first precept is about. We kill because, we avoid killing because we want to respect life. And why we want to respect life? Because all beings love their life. And we don't want to respect life. In order to respect life, we must show loving kindness, compassion. So we keep the precepts because we are practicing loving kindness, compassion. Right? And when we do that, we create good karma, a sense of happiness, we feel good. That's the immediate benefit of keeping the 5 precepts. Right? The 5 precepts also help to have harmony wherever we go. Because if we go out and walk in the streets, anyone can kill us if we won't go out, it's very interesting. So the precepts make society possible. Society. Right? Now then the second precept is, I take upon myself the training to not to take the not given, not to steal. Stealing is taking something which is not ours. And here again, is connected to the first. Do you have any idea how is it connected to the first? First about life.
Stealing will be our possessions.
Yeah. What happens when we steal? What are we really doing? We will not only have life, but we work hard. We save money, we use money to buy food, right? To buy a house, clothing, and so on. And someone takes that away. But obviously it is wrong. Why? Why is it wrong? There's a very simple way of explaining this. Okay, this is where we talk about values. Precept values. So this column is about values. Okay. So here's the value of life. We avoid killing to practice the value of life because of life is valuable. So the second one, we can use the word happiness. Happiness, that's the next value. I can ask you, for example, okay, life is of the greatest value. What do you think is the second thing that is of greatest value to us? Happiness would be a good answer, right? Okay. So, in fact, it fits very nice. You know? If you look at the whole structure, whole arrangement, but here, what does happiness mean? Happiness is a simple definition here. We have food to eat, clothes to wear, a place to live in, a roof over our head, and we have health. These are the 4 supports of life. Basic things every human being needs in order to be happy. In other words, you have life, next you have the 4 supports. You have food, clothing, shelter, health. Right? So if anybody takes that away, or takes the source of this basic support away, it will not give us any chance to really live properly. Even though we are alive, but we're not happy. Right? Is it clear enough? That's important. So, what to steal means to respect the happiness of others, to give them a chance to live their life. Not only to live their life, but to live their life suitably in a human way, happily, as you say, live happily. Number one is to live, number two is to live happily. Right? So, very clear, right? So that's the second precept. I take upon myself the training not to take the not to. So these are very basic ideas that teach. Now the third one is quite narrow. I take upon myself a training rule to avoid sexual misconduct. Sexual misconduct means things like rape, affairs with wrong people, things like that. That is a particular practice the Buddha is reminding us. Sometimes some cultures are used to adultery or adultery. So basically wrong behavior with the body. Another meaning is to respect the other person's person. Respect the other person's person's body. In another way, we can say this third precept also means you respect the other person when the person says no. Even between husband and wife, one partner says no, so the other person responds. So this third value, what would it be? You think? Your life, happiness. There are a few words we can use. Now imagine, okay, just go back to this idea of values. I have life. I am happy because I have my 4 basic supports. What is the third thing that's highest value to me? Someone can have life, he can have all the 4 supports, but he can live in the prison, right? Or maybe the country is communist, or really very bad ruler. So, freedom. So this is a very important value, freedom. So this third precept, on a broader scale, in other words, universal scale, universal value, freedom. Freedom is what? You can say no. You have the right to veto, you have the right to say no. You have a choice. So, and one of the most important choices we should be allowed to make is what we do with our body. Whether we want to get married, or not get married, or to have a child, or not have a child, you want someone to touch you or not touch you, you are allowed to say no. That's the most basic freedom. And then there are other freedoms. Right? So, but this is the most basic freedom. You have the right to decide what to do with your body. Okay? To the extent you don't hurt other people, that doesn't mean you can use your body to hurt others. That also is wrong because other people also got the same rights. Right? So it makes very good sense, isn't it? So any questions so far? Okay, now, no? So this is the value of freedom. So notice again the very beautiful, very simple sequence. You have life, you have the 4 support, so you're happy, and you're free. Okay, then the 4th precept, what value do you think it stands for? Right. Right. Why do you think it is true? Because opposite of truth is lying, right? So I take upon myself the training rule to avoid lying or to avoid falsehood. So how does this fit in? Any ideas? Very simple explanation. What do you think? All these things we have said must be true. Because if it's not true, then there's no point, right? Isn't it? So this is another basic value, the value of truth. I mean, you have come here, you've taken certain time of your life, and you have to tell me at the end of my class, look, all I told you is not true. It's a waste of time. Nobody wants to talk to each other. The fact that we communicate, we accept that you are telling me the truth. So that aspect is very important. Ideally speaking, truth, especially in religion. Truth is important. Truth is important not merely for communication. Truth is important because it is the very basis of personal development. How we're going to be happy, basically. You need to know the truth. Truth means reality. What you see is what you get. Right? So you can already see here the sequence so clear, so simple. You don't need any religious feeling, no need to worship anything, no need to have some strange ideas of any gods. But this is already a very good idea how to be good. The beginning. Okay? There is life, we have support for that life, we live a very happy life, and we are free to do what we want with respect for others. And all these things are true. They're not an imagination, they are not a delusion, they're real, they're true. Okay, so all these 4 precepts, they deal with the body. It has to do training of the body. So that's why we call it moral virtue. Okay? It's to do with body and speech. Ah, yes, sorry, this one is speech actually. Yeah? This one is speech. Of course, here we say tongue. Yeah? It's just figurative sense. Tongue normally what to do with eating food. But here we kind of also use it in the figurative sense, speech. Right? So here we have what is called the three doors of karma, 3 doors of action. When we act in 3 ways: through the body, through speech, through the mind. It's called the 3 doors of action. Whatever we do, we can only do through the 3 doors: body, speech, and mind. Technically speaking, whatever we do to body and speech is covered by moral virtue. But there is a 5th precept here. The 3rd precept says, I take upon myself a training rule not to take intoxicating drinks, strong drinks, and beer. These are different kinds of drink according to strength in ancient India. Basically today also we have similar drinks. So in simple terms we say not to take intoxicants. So what do you think is the value here? It's hinted by the diagram here and also the sequence. We have all these wonderful things. 4 wonderful values. So the 5th value has to do with the mind, right? It definitely has to do with the mind. So we can use a few words. For example, we can say wisdom, we can say liberation, we can say mindfulness, if you like. Or simply we use a general term, the mind, the value of the mind, if you like. I use different words in different times. Here, why is it bad to get intoxicated? Well, when you get intoxicated, the mind is not clear. You can't meditate. You can't even, you're not even really yourself. I never got drunk, so I didn't know what it is like to be drunk. I remember when I was teaching some students, one of us was an artist monk under me. So we were studying these precepts. So I was saying that one of the bad things about the 5th precept, you break the 5th precept, you get drunk, you start doing things, you don't know about it. Now this boy is a very quiet boy, unassuming person. He's an artist, and he said, that's not true, Bhante. You know what you're doing. It was like a shock to me. This nice boy saying that. I said, what? You've been drunk before? I said, yeah, I've been drunk before, so I know what it's like. So he says that when we are drunk, we actually know what's going on. But we are more daring. to do what we normally dare not do. That's quite a problem, isn't it? Especially if it's a bad thing. I mean, if it's a good thing, it's okay. But if it's a bad thing, it's not good. We become less polite. We say bad words. Our behavior is a bit more uncontrolled, right? But we are still responsible for such actions. And in fact, in the suttas, the Buddha often warns against being drunk, the dangers of being drunk. Not just we expose ourselves, we are rude to others, but it's also bad for health. People who drink a lot, their brains actually shrink. And they can get cirrhosis of the liver, for example. The liver bleeds. These are some of the danger of drinking, plus other things, because they might even go crazy if they drink too much, because the mind's clear. But basically, you can't meditate if you get drunk. So you've got to keep your mind totally clear, because the mind is our instrument of awakening. The mind is an instrument to liberation. Notice here's the mind: body, speech, mind, and then liberation. So this precept is important. It acts like a bridge between the body and the liberation. Okay? It prepares us for meditation. Or in daily life, it simply helps us to keep a clear mind so that we can think well, we can act well, we can behave well. So that society is possible. So a good society is possible. So these are the facts.
But this fifth precept, is it abstinence? Abstain from the drinking, or are you allowed to drink provided you don't get
okay. Right. Remember the spirit of the precepts. The spirit of the precepts are the ideal state. The Buddha is saying, these are the 5 things you should try your best. Remember, try our best not to do. What the Buddha knows, these are 5 things we most commonly break. These are 5 things we often do if we are not in control of ourselves. So what the Buddha is saying is, the more you can practice this, the better your life becomes. So the Buddha did nothing the Buddha, he did not say, I command you. The Buddha didn't say, I command you not to kill. That word command is not there. Because Buddha knows we will break the precept. So remember what I told you the first time, whenever we break a precept, we must look back, examine what happened. Why did I do that? Or why did I not do that? So the precepts are standards of quality control. Okay? So in other words, Buddhists, technically speaking, should not feel guilty. Suppose we kill a cockroach. Alright? And suppose we got fed up, we got no money, we go shopping, we say, oh, this shopping center is so expensive, so we shoplifted something, piece of soap, I say, I don't care. Or sometimes you get fed up with this bus, all this late, and say, I'm going to cut, I don't care. No, minor things like that, you know. I mean, that technically is stealing, right? And then suddenly we lie to our friend, so whether this person just say something. Then you look back, you say, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Because when you examine why did I do that, you discover a lot of things about yourself. You're not happy at that time, you're angry at that time, you're confused at that time. But you say, oh yeah, I should not be like that. And then you become a better person. So these are ways of looking at ourselves. These are the standard rules of a quality life. These 5 precepts define life. Real life, human life, not animals. Animals can kill, steal, whatever, anytime, but not humans, right? It's just like football. What is football? Football has got football rules. Badminton got badminton rules. Because if you don't play you don't have the rules, there's no game. So our life also, we are human because we're able to keep the 5 precepts. And if you keep the 5 precepts, you will not fall below the human level. Okay, so this is the basic idea to be human. What does it mean to be human? That's another question we can ask, and this is the answer. To be human means we respect life. To be human means we have basic happiness. We have the basic support of food, clothing, shelter, health. We have the freedom of our person. We have the right to say no. We respect truth. And the last one is we like our mind to be clear and calm so that we are happy. Okay, now coming to your question. So This question actually is very easy to answer. But the Buddha is quite clear about that. The Buddha says that you can take it as medicine. Okay, let's say sometimes you buy, say, Yomeshu or some of this tonic, that is okay, because it's mixed. You are not drinking it directly, you're not going to get drunk drinking it anyway, so that is okay. You put it in cake or that's okay. Alright? Or even if you have to take it like that, maybe the Chinese doctor say, hey, you must take a bit of this Chinese wine to have. Okay, fine. But you don't get drunk. Okay, that's okay. However, you got to be careful when you give it to the monks. You got to ask them, is it okay? So it's up to them. Some are very strict, they say no, they won't take it. Although it's allowed. Because they're very sensitive to this thing, because they don't drink at all. You take a bit and then they feel woozy. So for lay people, it's a bit more relaxed. So the idea is, if you must ban this, make sure you don't get drunk. Let's say Chinese New Year, relatives come, it's all drink, so you got to be extra mindful. Maybe just make them happy. That's bending it, the occasion. Other days you don't have to drink, okay, don't drink. So that's how we adjust ourselves. In other words, we must create the best conditions so that we don't break the precepts. That's the meaning. We don't point fingers and you break the precepts. That's not the meaning. The idea is, as I said, these are like rules of quality control. The more we can practice this, the healthier we become. Right? So that's another word. For all these, we can say health is another word.
What is the Buddhist view on suicide?
Okay, suicide, my first answer, what the Buddha says first thing is suicide is not encouraged. For the monk, suicide is wrong. The Buddha made it very clear, but that's the problem with the rule. After the monk kills somebody who is there he's not around already, right? I mean, someone kills himself, he's not around already. So, but the Buddha definitely said suicide is wrong, so that the living don't do it, because it's irresponsible. I mean, if a father, say, oh, I got no money, if he kills himself, family will be even worse. So that's the first answer. Second answer, people kill themselves for all kinds of reasons. So if someone has killed himself or someone is committing suicide, Buddhists generally keep an open view. For example, during funerals, I used to conduct them, I will always tell the family, we do not really know what is the last thought moment of the person who dies. People die in different ways. But if the person has done a lot of good things in his life, maybe he has done it long ago, it's forgotten it. But in the moment of passing away, those good thoughts may come back. And the last moment, he has a good thought. So although he jumped on top building down, the moment he hits the floor and he dies, he has a happy thought. He'll be reborn in a happy stage. So we can't really say what kind of rebirth he will be. So whether suicide or not, it is really hard to say what is going to be his rebirth. It depends on his daily life, the habitual act he has been doing and so on. But the basic idea in Buddhism, we don't encourage suicide, we don't encourage abortion. Anything to do with killing of life is wrong.
But what about the monks setting themselves on fire?
Exactly.
It's killing, right?
Yeah, it is killing. Those are what are called grey areas. That's one more thing we must bear in mind.
Yeah.
These are the general, normal way of life for you and I. This is where things are normal. Things are ideal, if you like. But those monks who burn themselves, you don't see them doing it every day. It's not something they enjoy doing. In Vietnam also they did that in the 60s. This is one of the things the Buddhists, those Buddhist monks, you see, the thing is, there is political suppression and problems. For example, in Vietnam, it was a Catholic country at the time. The rulers were Catholic. In fact, they declared Catholicism national religion and so on, so that the church was given a lot of privileges. The Buddhists was badly suppressed in Vietnam in the 60s, Long Dinh Diem's time. The Buddhists couldn't even celebrate Vesak. They can't even raise their Buddhist flag. So in the end, they felt so unhappy. They can't even celebrate their Buddha birthday. So, and then they were make fun of their temples were surrounded by the soldiers and so on. So in the end, the monk, see, there's something about the Buddhists, they don't go and bomb others. They're not like the Muslims. They do not go to kill others because it's against the precepts. On the other hand, the worst thing, what's the worst thing? Because the Christians say, oh, these Buddhists, they're very peaceful, pacifist. You do what you like, they won't retaliate. But that's wrong, see, because you push people too hard, even the gentlest person can retaliate. So the Buddhist monks were wondering, how can we best show these Catholic suppressors that, you know, we want this freedom. So the idea by burning themselves is that they are saying we have lost all these values. We don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have happiness. So what is our life then? It doesn't mean anything to us. We're willing to sacrifice it. But the question now is, where did they get the idea from? They didn't get the idea from Theravada scriptures. They got it from Mahayana sutras. Because actually they changed the story a bit. In Mahayana Sutra, there's one sutra, I think it's the Lotus Sutra, it talks about this. There is this Bodhisattva, it's not ordinary being, it's a Bodhisattva, it's a story, it's not a real historical person. He meditated for a long time, and this long time means many world cycles, you can imagine that. I mean, time periods are very relaxed in Mahayana Sutras. So he meditated, and then he only consumed sweet things, fragrant oil and so on. So his whole body became very, very fragrant. And then at night time, he sets himself on fire as an offering to the Buddha. Okay, that's the story, you see. But if you know Sanskrit and Pali, you will smile because there's a play on word on that sutra. Because you see, the word for meditation okay, first this is dhyana in Sanskrit. It means jhana, deep meditation. And I think it's P-I-R-T. The verb is this. So this verb has two meanings. One is to attain this level of peaceful mental state, but it also means to burn. It also means to burn. In other words, when we meditate, we are burning away impurities of the mind. So that is the meaning of that story of this Bodhisattva burning himself. It's a play on this word, meditation. But these monks took that to mean that he offered himself to the Buddha. Because they need some excuse, to retaliate with the politicians, with the evil rulers. So they say we are offering ourselves to the Buddha. And also to show the world that our life is of no value if we don't have all this. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to do. So in our case, even the Tibetans are doing it. The monks of South Asia, Thailand, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka are not likely to do it. Because they know the precepts. Nowhere in the Pali Canon, the Pali Sutta, is this ever allowed. And they also know there is a rule, specific rule of the monk, they should not commit suicide. But I won't be surprised if some of them might do it, because those monks probably will not be aware of the sutta, aware of the rules, or they might choose to forget the rules because they are more political than they are religious. So these are things we won't know when politics are bad. That is why most politicians are very careful. They will not want to suppress religions, because you test them too much, they're willing to break the rules and things won't be good. And so it's not an easy situation. And I'm giving you a long answer. But I hope that explains.
Yeah.
Yeah? So these values are very important.
I have one more question on
Yeah,
life.
sure.
If a person is sick,
Okay.
right, and there's one treatment, knowing that without treatment they will die, is that a violation of the first precept?
Okay, yeah. Here again, you've got to look at this precept carefully, especially about life. The precept about the first precept, broadly speaking, respect for life means we must not kill, we must not encourage others to kill, and most teachers will add one more, we must not let die. If you really have compassion, this is complete practice, we must not let die. So in other words, basically, if you're a good Buddhist, you see a bird which has fallen down, and this bird for some reason is hurt, you will somehow try to keep it healthy for as long as it can live and let it die naturally. Of course, there's a bit of debate here. For example, if this bird is really in pain, a horse especially in pain, you keep it alive, it suffers pain. So what do we do? This is quite tricky. But there's a middle way. There's a middle way. For example, we can give it pain-killing drugs. Okay? Or I don't know why horses cannot. They say the horses say as such that once they break the leg, they can't really do much. Maybe amputate, but of course it's quite tricky. So basically they don't kill the horse. They say put it out of misery. It's still killing. It's still killing. Okay, this is my first answer. Let me explain. Because these are about life, so it's not easy to explain. You've got to look at it broadly. So this is the first answer. The first answer, we try to protect life as much as we can. Number two, okay, another thing I have to tell is we got to deal with this case by case basis because they are different. So you got to use, because these are universal principles. So we're going to apply this universal principle to specific cases. So you've got to deal with, these are special borderline cases. There is a paper written on this. In fact, this paper is given to the class on the psychology of death and living. This person is a Buddhist and she's dying, real case in Australia. And she told the nurse not to give her any, no morphine, no painkillers, because she wants to meditate. She wants to pass away in meditation. She's a real practitioner. So this nurse was recording the last 48 hours, how she dignified where she passed away. So they don't give her much water because using water you got to pee. And in this dying state, you won't be able to pee, you will retain the water, it's very uncomfortable. So they just give her just a bit enough to pee. So they know, medically they know, and she allows that, she wants that, and she goes to meditation. Okay? So they're always watching her, and she will be signaling them what she wants, things like that. So in the end, she passes away. Okay? So that's her request. So what the caregivers will do is take care as much as possible of her, let her be as comfortable as possible, and she passes away. So this is, she had cancer, so this is where it's a choice. So to that extent, I would say everybody is doing quite well. In other words, they didn't kill anyone. She kind of passes away in a dignified way, calmly in meditation. Okay, now what about another situation where you have this person, let's say part of his skull is gone. And there's one case I read somewhere, a really bad case. He doesn't have much long to live anyway, but maybe at the most few weeks, few months at the most. So he's almost like a vegetable. That is tough. Okay. Let's assume that easier case, he can make decision. He's still lucid. He says, I don't want to live. I can't do anything anyway. It's very painful. Please unplug my life support. Again, the doctor can say, okay, we never, just take things like that because it's life. It'd be murder. The doctor will be charged with murder. So it's not quite simple. So normally it depends on the society. Among the most, some society would say, okay, number one, the patient himself must consent, and then what opinion of two doctors, two qualified doctors, and then maybe a couple of relatives. So you have like a group of people, and then only they will unplug this. So it's not so simple. Alright? So these are things where you need consent, advice, consent, you need all the informed consent. And even then I can tell you, all those people who are still alive will not have an easy feeling after that. They'll feel very sad. And they've got to do all kinds of excuses now, rationalization, you see. Right? So that's why we rather try our best to make sure this person at least is painless. So there's discussion how to make it painless to this person. So one way is to give some kind of like morphine or whatever. Another way is you got to learn meditation early. You learn meditation early. When all this pain comes to you in the last moment, you use a meditation, you won't suffer so much. So I have no immediate answer for this, and I should not have an immediate answer for it, but they can be very dangerous. For example, that's why most countries they will not pass the law on euthanasia. You know, because whoever sign, very dangerous. You're his friend. He doesn't like you, just sign it. Finish. So you have to be very careful, right? It's not so simple, right? So that basic rule is life is precious. So we really must think carefully when you want to end it. That is why in Buddhism we make no big deal of whoever dies for someone else. We say, yeah, okay, you'll be a hero, yes, but if you live, you are a greater hero. And what's the point of a father who says, I love my family and I kill myself? And a poor family, he has to fend for himself. If the father lives, he has to work hard, he has to provide for the family, right? So suicide can be like, running away from duties. Right? Some people say, oh, Buddha ran away from home and so on, but then he got enlightened and taught the Dhamma. Whereas he did not say, I'm going to die for my family, and then that's it, right? So, I guess life is important for us. Alright, that's very good. Those questions are very useful. Huh?